I will call this meeting to, actually, the first part of the thing is invocation, sorry. Is Dale here? Dale, yep. Call upon Dale Hexam of Good Shepherd. We will follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pray.
Yes, please.
Lord God, we gather tonight thankful for your goodness and your faithfulness to us as a community, to us as a state, and to us as a nation. Out of your love and out of your mercy and out of your grace, you have showered us with blessing upon blessing. Lord, forgive us when we take those blessings for granted or when we pridefully take credit for them. We also pray that you would remind us and compel us to share those blessings, not because of law, but because of love for our neighbor. Lord, tonight we pray for our neighbors. We pray for our leaders, both here in St. Paul and in Washington, D.C. We pray for wisdom and discernment. We pray for common sense and common decency. We pray for civility and cooperation. Lord, we pray that our leaders at every level of government would truly be serving the people rather than serving their self-interests. Lord, today more than ever, we need leaders who serve like Christ, sacrificially and with a servant heart. Lord, I pray specifically for the mayor and this city council this evening, that the discussion and the decisions would be for the betterment of this community and that they would ultimately glorify you. We thank you for our leaders, and we pray your blessing upon them and upon this city. And I pray all this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
Clayton.
Yep.
Krameyer.
Here.
Mortensen.
Here.
Rachel.
Here.
Hildy.
Here.
Fish.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
The first item on the agenda is the open forum, where anybody wishing to speak on a topic that is not already on the agenda may come forward, speak to the council. If you could just state your name and the city in which you live.
My name is Dwayne Cookman. I live at 543 West Stanton. And my question is, can we get, or is it possible, request, I guess, a way that we can get updates, like from the golf course, RTC, Bigwood Event Center, other things, because we hear what's relevant to today's meeting, but I would like to see what has happened or any progress on past projects. If there's, it's on the website, updated website weekly, or whenever something happens, be greatly appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Any other comments? If not, then we will move on to the approval of the agenda. I believe we have item 3 on the consent agenda. Councilmember Kwame wishes to pull that for discussion. And I believe item 11, the Lincoln Avenue alleyway, Councilmember Mortensen and Leighton wish to pull that. The other item that we wish to remove from the agenda is the item H1A, the resolution approving the North Point professionals. Dan and Lisa Malmstrom, literally just prior to the meeting, have sent a letter stating that regrettably we are writing to decline the opportunity to facilitate a community vision and strategy to foster economic development in Fergus Falls. There are 2 primary reasons for this decision. First, the aggressive timeline associated with a spring process will be subject to a number of natural obstacles in the best circumstances. That fact, combined with the obvious contention among council members and the
relationship with Greater Fergus Falls, we believe our planning process at this time would be suboptimal. Second, and on a related note, we know that from our transformative work in our business, large and small corporations, municipalities, schools, and nonprofits, the essential elements of success have been people who have chosen to unify around a common pursuit, even in difficult circumstances. We recently watched council meetings and work sessions with interest, hopeful that such unity would emerge within the council, the city staff, and between other key stakeholders such as Greater Fergus Falls. However, since we submitted our proposal last week, we have become aware that a few council members seem to have independent ideas regarding the path forward. Such independence is an option. However, does not align with the foundation of unity that our process requires. We hope that unity emerges for you as a council, and even more importantly, between the city, businesses, leaders, and citizens. We know from experience as leaders and agents of change in many other organizations and communities that a great potential awaits Fergus Falls when you choose to work together. Thank you again for reaching out to North Point professionals. And please know that we will continue to stand in the gap for your city staff and other Fergus Falls organizations that are pursuing economic prosperity. We are currently assisting several promising local endeavors and thoroughly enjoyed helping wonderful people. Warm regards, Dan and Lisa Malmstrom. With that kind of news, which was obviously news to me at 5 o'clock, what I propose would be that we put a Path Forward Economic Development on Committee of the Whole, so that as a council we can discuss where we go from that. As this, obviously people need time to digest, that where we're at tonight. With that, I would look for an approval of the agenda. Clerk's up.
I'll make that motion, but
Thank you.
the consent agenda item that I requested was number 4, not number 3.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Laura. And it was item number 4, not number 3. With that, the first item on the agenda is the public. Oh, you want to vote? I thought we were a dictatorship. So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Motion is carried. Now, the next item on the agenda is public hearing, the final cost hearing for CP 5961 Eunice Avenue Street and Utility Reconstruction Project. This will be a combination of Alex from Interstate and the city administrator to bring this forward. There will be a public hearing for comment after Alex has stated what the project is.
Good evening, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. So yes, we are here tonight to request a number of things, one being the final cost hearing for the special assessments for city project 5961 Junius Avenue Street reconstruction. That is a project that is on Junius Avenue, which is just a block this way, starting at Union Avenue, running all the way to Cascade. Involves water, sewer, storm sewer replacement, curb and gutter, new street. It's a full reconstruct project. The 5 items we're looking for tonight is, first of all, the final public hearing for the special assessments, a resolution adopting those assessments contingent on the award of the construction contract, a resolution awarding the contract to C&L Excavating in the amount of $1,041,093.95. A resolution accepting the municipal lighting agreement between Ottertail Power and the City of Fergus Falls, and a resolution accepting Interstate Engineering's professional services proposal for construction administration in the amount of $153,460.00. I'll give just a quick overview of the project financing and costs. So the cost breakout you have in front of you. So the special assessments for the bituminous is broken up into a few pieces. Special assessment for bituminous in the amount of $126,935.10. The special assessment then for the city property portion, $26,932.50. City share for the bituminous based on the city's special assessment policy, the leftover in the middle is $52,682.40. The city share for removals and the rest of construction, $561,424 to $5.43. That's the street project part. Then the utilities, sanitary sewer and services, $235,639.50. Water main and services, $325,545.30. And the storm sewer, $180,516.30 for a total project of $1,509,667.53. Financing is determined by the city staff. Special assessment bonds paid for by special assessments. You can see there's $153,867.60. Bonds for the city share, $399,107.83. Bonds that would be reimbursed potentially by state aid funds, $215,000. And then out of the sanitary fund, $235,639.50. The water fund, $325,545.30. Storms water fund, $180,516.30, adding up to that same total. So that is the, attached to this is also the individual assessment rolls that have been updated based on the construction bids received for that project. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I think I would request that you open the public meeting.
Oh, I think Bill wishes to add something.
Just going to add a little bit more in regards to the financing of how that comes together. Alex went through those individual portions. On the bottom of that first page where we start saying the PIR bonds 429, that's Minnesota statute 429. That's our permanent improvement revolving fund. And you can finance projects for streets and infrastructure utilities using that statute if you special assess 20% or more of the project. So that's what we're talking about here. We've combined this project when we noticed the Shoreview project as well. So we're combining them so that we can bond for those two together as well, because you don't want to issue bonds here and here. It's, you know, more economical to combine them together and do that. We'll be coming back to you. If this is approved, then we'll put a financing plan together and come back with a bond issue for your approval at a later date. That is typically how we do that. We combine some projects together and then bring them back, you know, at a later date. I foresee that yet this spring, before we get to the construction season, kind of getting that kicked off with our bonding people. So when we combine the two projects together, what we do is we bond for the city portion as well as the assessed portion. The people that are assessed have a 15-year option to pay that, so that bond term we estimate at 15 years to pay for that project. So you use a property tax levy to pay the city portion, and then you use the assessments as they come in to also make those bond payments. I had our bond people run an estimated levy for that. So starting in 2026, an estimated levy would be around $51,000 a year is what we'd be looking at for between this project and Shoreview. Now Shoreview is the majority of that is paid by special assessments because that is new pavement going in. It's going over a gravel surface right now. Here is a reconstruction, and like you mentioned, our special assessment policy, the city picks up a bit more of that section in that. The utility portions of these are paid for with cash. We've been building that into our utility rate analysis that we do over a 10-year period we project out. So we're not looking at financing the sewer, the water, or the storm, paying cash for those. But I wanted you to be clear that we'd be coming back and not surprised that I'm coming back with a bond issue here, maybe in a month or two to start talking about that, so. Do you have anything else then? So we could open the hearing.
Right, with that, we'll open this public hearing. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this project?
How soon will the property owners
If you
know
could
what their
state,
assessment-
if you could possibly state your name and the city.
Ruth Heisted,
Ruth Heisted.
Fergus Falls.
Thank you.
And I'm here because First Lutheran Church is on Junius. And when will we find out what our assessment will be? I know it will be,
Because you're on a corner, I don't know if you're gonna be
well,
assessed. Is that
we've
part of it? Is
got
it part of it? Okay.
property on that side also.
I'm sorry.
So will it be something sent to us ahead of time that we
So-
can prepare?
So notices were sent out prior to this, so First Lutheran should have received that notice in the mail that had that assessment. We sent them out back when we did a preliminary cost hearing, said, here's what we think it'll be, a not to exceed number. This is actually below that a bit, and Alex, you could probably say the percentage. If we're down 4 or 6%, maybe 4.7. But that notice should have gone out, and it's in the packet here tonight as well. But if you don't have that handy, I can get you copies too.
That would be
so.
great. And I think we also got a notice that we need to replace our water pipe from the street in. And is that totally our cost?
So Alex, I'm gonna look to you. Things coming in on the property is the property owner's responsibility, right?
Yes, typically anything from the right-of-way to the property, or to the building would be the
Yeah.
property owners. So this project will replace everything up to the right-of-way.
And that's done separately. You could contact the contractor to get the work done, but that is a separate contract with the property owner.
Which the city arranges?
No, we don't arrange those contracts for the service lines.
So I'm assuming you received a notice because you have a lead service line?
Yes.
So there is, the plan was there was supposed to be federal funding coming to help property owners replace that. I don't know where that is at right now.
Okay. And then sidewalks, will they be ripped up and will we be replacing those?
We are replacing portions of sidewalks, not the entirety of the whole way. Some of that is new, so I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head.
Okay, and if you replace partially, would we be able to piggyback on that and do the whole section so it would be the same? And would we be paying some kind of a lesser fee?
Presumably, that would be a discussion with city staff and the council
Okay.
on how they, traditionally, when we've done stuff on private property, it's been,
Through the sidewalk program is what we normally do on an annual basis. So we could probably do something like that, you would think. That we should be able to make something work there because we do an annual sidewalk program. So anyone in the city, if you're saying, you know what, I need to redo this section, we have a main contractor that takes care of that, and you work with our engineering department to get that. So
Okay.
we'd probably put you in touch directly with the engineering department on that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Your Honor. Ruth, we just got the amount. So the total assessments for First Lutheran Church, there are two different assessments.
Okay,
One of them is in the amount of $12,798. The other one is in the amount of $3,240, so a total of $16,038.
thank you.
Yep.
Helps a lot.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, the hearing is closed. So,
so then we've got a list of resolutions to go through. The first resolution we would be requesting is to adopt the assessment rolls for City Project 5961 contingent upon the awarding of the construction services contract.
would somebody care to make that?
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
I'll
Thank you,
second that.
Jay. Seconded by Laurel. There'll be a roll call.
Kwame,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yep.
Freemeyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
The resolution is approved.
Your Honor,
I'm sorry.
I think Mark had a question earlier on. Is it something you want to talk about before we get into all these resolutions?
Alex, thank you, Your Honor,
Stop.
and Rachel's. When was this bid?
We opened bids the last week of February.
Now that oil's gone from $90 to $60, do you feel that this is time to recall that bid? Or what is the process?
That is an option. You could reject the bids and rebid it. There's always risk of a bid protest as we're not making any changes to the project. And one of the things I was gonna point out, but I didn't get the right page printed, I missed a page, but I think I can do it from memory. We did get a very good number on this project. The 1.046 million, was versus an estimate of 1.4 million. Contractors are looking for work right now, so we feel really good about this number. So I don't know, even with oil down, how much you would.
Well, I don't know how much is the bituminous on this total package compared to the other projects? Or,
It's a pretty good chunk, but we got a pretty good number for bituminous on this as well. I think we were at $88 a ton, and I don't think we've seen under $100 a ton in this town in 5 years. So I think your gain would be minimal.
it'd be interesting to find out.
It's an option.
And I'm not saying that we should, Your Honor. I'm just saying that, I don't know if, let's say you come tomorrow to another unit, another entity, and you price out bituminous, and all of a sudden it's $66.
Yep, it's possible. They do hedge their bets a little bit because they are held to these prices through the end of the project. So they're gonna have to hedge against if oil comes back up again. So we don't see the direct And I understand,
Yep, in the petroleum business, it's a rubber band,
Yeah,
it's not a string.
I wouldn't even speculate on what they might do.
But typically not in inventory, like if I had a bunch of steel that I already bought.
Right.
Now we have the opposite coming with the tariffs. So here we've got oil down, and I think it's going to remain low. So I would, anything you can do on the outside would be great.
Your Honor, if we were to have a bid protest, what would the impact of that be? That's a concern. Also, Junius, I mean, I think if we don't get Junius fixed and we lose this construction season, we'll be buying all new police cars. So I think that weighs in here too. What would timeline, if we were to look at that, look like?
If you were to look to rebid, we would need another 3 weeks of advertising. The earliest we could get that would be next week. So that would put us at opening bids again, probably the middle of May. This contractor is fired up and ready to go the end of April, if this gets awarded. But we would look at opening at the end of May. It could affect assessments then because all those numbers change, which would require us then to go through that notification process again. So you're probably looking at a final cost hearing in the middle of June, and then you'd be looking at maybe construction start middle of July, probably August.
Your Honor, I'd offer the resolution.
Thank you. Councilmember Laurel Gildy has offered the resolution to award the construction contract to C&L Excavating. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jim. Roll call.
Kwame,
Yes.
Creighton,
Sure.
Schindler,
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Hildy,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next resolution is accepting the municipal lighting agreement between Ottertail Power and the city. You got anything more to add to that?
Just that I understand that these costs were included in the annual budget that was approved back in I don't know,
Yep,
end of the
it's-
year or the beginning of the year.
Yep, it's covered in the 25 budget.
I make a motion,
Thank you,
approve the
Mark.
resolution.
Do we have a second for that? Thank
I'll
you,
second
Al. Roll call.
Kwame,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
Krameyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Hildy.
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Joel.
that. Yes.
We are now looking for, that resolution is approved. We are now looking for a resolution to accept Interstate Engineering's professional services proposal for administration of this project. We have a resolution for that. Would somebody
I'll
care to make
offer
it? Thank you, Laura. We have a second.
I'll second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Scott. Roll call.
Kwame,
Yes.
Creighton,
Sure.
Krameyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Hildy.
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Your Honor, I got one question before he sits down. What's the start date? You said April 30th?
As of right now, they're targeting setting up traffic control and erosion control April 21st. starting removals that week and then starting pipe work the week of April 28th.
And what's our end date? Is there one in there? I didn't see it in the contract. so-
We left this one fairly open, so the contract end date is October 31st, I believe. They're anticipating finishing up sometime the first part of July.
Oh, really?
They do have to come back next year and put the
Final.
last lift of asphalt on. Yep. That'll come first part of next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the awarding of a bid, resolution awarding the contract PI 9774, landfill demolition cell Phase 3B to Central Specialists, Inc. in the amount of $492,660.25. And we'll call upon Andrew, our city administrator.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Members went through this in good detail at the committee of the whole last week, so I'll just, at a high level, indicate that we received 11 bids for this project. Bidding was open February 25th of this year. Central Specialties, Inc. was the low bidder at $492,660.25. And you will note that the engineer's estimate on the project was just shy of $710,000. So a really good price on this project as well. And recommend award of this contract to Central Specialties, Inc. in the amount that I stated earlier.
Do we have somebody make that? Thank you, Scott.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions? If not, roll call.
Kwame,
Yes.
Layton,
Yes?
Kramer,
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hildy.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda was Lieutenant Josh from the Salvation Army, but I don't see him in the audience. So with that, we'll move on to...
Your Honor, can I ask one question? Because I had a question on that. Is that okay? I have heard from a couple of one thrift store in particular, but on behalf of multiple, I believe, and there is a concern amongst the existing thrift stores with the Salvation Army one closing about the level of influx they're going to get in donations and how to handle that. And a question has been asked if the utility coupons that go out to in our city utility bills, that each person gets one voucher in essence a year. If there is a way, I know we don't want people photocopying and they need to be attached to an address. Can people write, or could we approve an ability for people to write pay to the order of blank nonprofit, so those people could donate that may not be using their coupon to help allow for people to take, or for the thrift stores to take items to the dump and reduce their cost? Obviously, we're accounting for one voucher a year. It wouldn't be more vouchers, but could people donate their vouchers to a nonprofit? Could that be looked at in the future?
Your Honor, ultimately, that would be a decision the city council would have to make, understanding that there would be a cost impact to the city for any voucher that was used that wouldn't otherwise be used. And we do track our costs related to those vouchers on an annual basis, and when we see costs getting a little out of control, we'll change the amount of items or specific items as markets fluctuate. So I guess, you guys certainly would have the ability to do that. It would just create some unknowns until we have better data.
And we'd have to look at the public purpose doctrine expenditure, because cities can't donate to all nonprofits, only certain ones authorized by statute, so we'd have to research that a bit, but.
It was just a question asked.
Yep.
And so I wanted to bring that up in the Salvation Army conversation.
Maybe kind of staff, we can do some research, and, I mean, it's a valid idea, so. Yeah. The next item on the agenda is Visit Fergus Falls update from Rolando, and I think Rolando has some slides.
So, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. The mayor asked me to do an update on what's going on in Visit Fergus Falls.
There you go.
This works
Yeah.
because I don't feel any difference, but well. So let's go with the first update. That is, we have a new platform in our website, the events platform that is working fantastic. this is a platform where I receive the events for several zip codes around Fergus Falls, and I just have to approve them, and they go directly to our website. So it's saving me a significant time on hunting events all over social media, because they come to me straight, and I just have to approve them. So when I approve them, you can see in the main page, in the landing page, there's a scrolling bar where you can see the events, the immediate events that are coming. And then when you go to the event platform, you're gonna see all the events in that page. And when you click on one of those, next, you have the possibility to share the event on Facebook and all the social media platforms. You have a QR code where you can go directly to the event website. You can add it to your calendar. So it has a lot of stuff that facilitates to share that event and share that information all over the place. So it's working fantastically. I'm super happy with it. And then we're gonna go to the next update. We had 2 strategic sessions with North Point professionals, and we came to several conclusions. The number one and the most important one for me is that our mission got a little bit expanded. So we were focused only in heads on beds, but now we are focusing also in bringing people from towns around, so they can come, I mean, even if they stay here or not, but they can come and leave some money in downtown and, and help with the economy of the town and with the economy of all our businesses. So therefore, in our campaigns, in our digital campaigns, now all these towns are included. So they're gonna receive displays and pop-ups in Google, advertising all our events and everything we have going on in town. We came to some short-term goals and some long-term goals. The first short-term goal is identify targets and influence insights for each segment, which is something that we do regularly. So I'm all the time looking, all those influencing platforms, so we can get in and we can promote for free, or if it's a good deal, we can invest, in those platforms to promote the town as a tourist destination. The second one is to develop targeted marketing and incentives for over-the-road travelers on I-94. So this is something that we're gonna start discussing in the board, in our board meeting, to develop, besides a sign in the I-94, we need to also think, what would be the incentive for those drivers to stop in town. So that's something that we have to develop, probably with cooperation of the Chamber of Commerce, to have some kind of incentive for people to stop here. Some like discounts in hotels, discounts in some restaurants, some sort of incentive that can bring people to stop in Fergus Falls while they are traveling on I-94. The third one that came up was to develop half-day tours. And this is something that I just made up just as an example. But for example, if we prepare a granny pampering weekend, that is, coming to Fergus Falls, having a breakfast in the Viking Cafe, going to have a foot massage in one of those places that we have in downtown, have a lunch in the Feather Farmer, and then visit the Orefield Historical Society Museum. We can build a package there, and we can charge, certain amount that is reasonable, and it's an incentive for people to come and spend, an afternoon or a morning in Fergus Falls and leave some money in town. The other one is work with organizers to market and expand loosely organized Fergus Falls events. So to me, one of the best examples is this event, you know, the cruise night, because that is an event that has a lot of potential to grow, because there's a lot of people that is into, you know, antique cars. And if we can get together, visit Fergus Falls with the organizers and create a promotional campaign for that event, that can make that event grow. And that can actually, in the future, bring people from other locations to see the show. The other one is apply Visit Fergus Falls resources to recruit existing planned events to Fergus Falls in 2026-27. This is a little like a medium term. So what we're gonna do, now we finally are hiring somebody that is gonna take charge of that, like a sales person, that is gonna go, hey, we have the Bigwood Event Center, we have this infrastructure, we are offering to you for conferences, for weddings, for sport events, for cultural events, and try to get back some events that that we had at some point and they just disappeared, like barefoot event, boat events. I mean, the possibilities are like, you know, incredibly. You just have to go for it and sail, you know, do a sail work for that. So the other update that I would share is that we have some new Google campaigns going on. One is the Bigwood Event Center, but that one is not live yet because I need to talk to the Bigwood Event Center team, because for that campaign we also would need, and this is my point of view, we also would need an incentive, like create a kind of a package that people can say, okay, this is great, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have my wedding here, or I'm gonna have a conference or a reunion or whatever. So as soon as I, you know, talk to that team, that's it, that well, Brooke, basically, and we can find out a kind of incentive to lure people to book the Bigwood Event Center. That campaign is gonna be on the air. The other one is the Fergus Falls Summer Campaign. That one is already, since Friday is on, so it's gonna take some days to take effect. But is promoting the summer concert, the summer fairs, the parks, the shopping, the food, the entertainment, and the new assets that we have, that is a splash pad and the aquatic center. And the other campaign is the Bike, Hike, and Stay. That is the most successful campaign that we have launched. Like that campaign brings a lot of people to the website. And we are promoting basically, I mean, mainly the Central Lakes Trail. We also find some areas of improvement for tourism in town. We need a tourist map, because the one we have is a map super complicated that, you know, I've been receiving people in the office, and then when I'm gonna point something to the map, it's like a puzzle. You have to like, it's really difficult. So I brought this map that is from Istanbul, that is a pretty, it's a pretty busy city, but look how, you know, how cute is the map and how simple it is. So it gives you an idea of everything that you have to see in downtown, in just to see it at first view. So we need something like that for Fergus Falls. And I was talking to the mayor the other day about that, and to put also in this Peace Park, that map in a big sign at the Peace Park. It would be great. Another idea that I got, you know, is like, you know, you see the sign, I am Amsterdam? To put a sign of Fergus Falls, maybe we can do, I'm gonna talk to Springboard for the Arts, because maybe we can go for something in there and find some artists that they bring all the time to create something like that, and create a point where people is gonna take selfies and create self-promotion, just to have, you know, Fergus Falls or welcome to Fergus Falls or whatever. So that's something that is gonna be, I'm gonna be in conversations with Springboard. I'm part of the board member. I'm a board member of Spring for the Arts. So I'm gonna have that conversation with them. I think it's a pretty viable project. Then we got some long-term. To me, those are very long-term initiatives. They say that the board assists with the city of Fergus Falls to mitigate the convention center gap. The convention center gap is that we don't have a restaurant or a bar in the hotel attached to the convention center. So right away, right off the bat, we are in disadvantage with other convention centers that probably have, you know, a restaurant or it has a bar right there. The other one will be the board assists the city of Fergus Falls to develop the complete Orange River opportunity. Well, this one would need like a lot of money and a lot of time though. And resume convention recruiting with specific profile industries and list. I talked about that just before. And the other one, which to me is the most like reachable right now, is to develop community plans to organize unique Fergus Falls events with regional, state, and national reach. And I put some examples, like a Fergus Falls, for example, a Fergus Falls Film Festival. That is pretty simple to do nowadays. I mean, with the technology, people submitting films, I mean, they submitted like right there in the platform. You can see them right there in the platform. You can actually project it from the platform. So, you know, technology has made this pretty easy. Visit Fergus Falls is not the one that is gonna create that event, but we can serve as a let's see, like ignite members and help to promote that event. I already had some conversations with members of the community that really want to do something about this. And, you know, it's a matter of time and it's a matter to find someone that would take that responsibility in town. And the last one, I know that I have just 10 minutes. And the last one, just to manage expectations. You know, the U.S. index of consumer sentiment is right now at 57 from 79.4 last year by this time. So the money that people is spending now in travel has decreased like around a 10% nationally. So when I say that I would say that the magic word here would be incentive. We need to offer something and to make something, you know, to give like some attractive incentive for people to, you know, decide to come here. And, you know, incentive is the word that goes with everything I just said. And basically that's what I have for you guys. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Orlando.
More happy.
Any questions of Orlando?
I just want to thank you for being here today. I'm on the Visit Fergus Falls committee. It was a great experience to work with Dan and Lisa. And we'll go back and revisit your granny day. We'll talk about that.
I think Jim's upset that there wasn't a Granddad Day. So, but I think that was good. Thank you, Ronald. I mean, I think, as you say, we have to encompass and embrace Fergus Falls. And I'm pleased to see that we're shifting some emphasis away from heads on beds being the only thing. I mean, if we can get people to Fergus Falls, then there's a potential that they might stay the night. And then, especially, you know, we get the Mill Hotel open up.
Oh, yeah.
That will be, you know, another reason for people to stay downtown.
Absolutely. And, you know, don't get me wrong, we're going to keep doing everything for heads and beds too. Because, you know, that's where the money comes from. But you know, we're going to expand our operation to all the towns around Fergus. So.
Right. Thank you, Rolando. Mike, you had a question?
Yeah, Rolando, I want to thank you for coming. Every time you come, you impress me. So I think you're in the right place at the right time for our community. So I thank you for that with it. You really hurt us last time when we talked about the Bigwood Event Center, because it looks like you shifted your focus to really trying to grow that thing and do that for us. I appreciate it. What are the things that the city is not helping you with enough? Where are we letting you down as a organization?
Well, I mean, nothing yet. I think that, when I have that conversation with Brooke, that is, the head right now of the Bigwood, I will go through a list and I will let you know, guys, where you can help me and what will we need from you guys. I mean, from now, we're just like designing our plan. Remember that we had these strategic sessions just like last month. So we are now like, trying to shift our, our attention to the things that we usually didn't.
Yeah.
So as soon as I have that conversation, I will be able to, to point what do we need and what you guys can help us with.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Ronald.
Thank you.
I think the next item is the consent agenda. And we are removing items 4 and 11. I think the remainder obviously remains on the board. If somebody would care to offer a resolution for the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Laurel. Roll call.
Kwame.
Yes.
Layton.
Yes.
Freemeyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Ringler.
Yes.
Hildy.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Item number 4, I think Councilmember Kwame had some comments regarding the library art policy. Over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, I'll make the motion to approve the art policy with the following amendment. Each of you has a copy of the printed version that I'm offering amended, and it's also up on the screen. Would you like to get a second for that? Then we can discuss it.
And I think you'll probably need to know what the amendments are to see.
Are the
Okay,
amendments the highlighted part, or is that from somebody else?
In there, it looks purple on there. The areas that are marked with the purple word delete, that's the amendment that I would make, that it would delete the words that are lined with the purple. So I'm not adding any verbiage, only deleting lines that are identified there within the purple. When this was first presented to us a month or so ago, there were some issues that I had with it, and primarily the reason for bringing this up is the inclusion of language referring to things that have to do with DEI. This whole diversity, equity, inclusion issue in the country is kind of a hot topic these days, and so having language that includes that verbiage, I believe, is sort of troublesome and polarizing, and I don't see that it's necessary in this policy. I don't think it adds any value, and I think that we can simply delete that, and it'll stand just fine without these particular lines that I've marked to delete.
So there are, I think there are 3 lines that Councilmember Kwame is suggesting get deleted, which would be provide the public with equitable access to the arts. The second would be the library collection will include diverse perspectives. And the third portion is on page 2, which is artwork considered for the library's permanent collection should not reflect one's opinion or style. And then also to remove to have a diverse art collection.
I guess if I could, say a little more further. This was on pages 72 and 73 in the packet, for what it's worth. The packet included the old version and then the updated version, and so if you're looking in the packet, you'll find many pages. So it's pages 72 and 73. But the first one, for example, provide the public with equitable access to the arts. Well, the very first sentence in that section says, provide free access to a wide range of art. I think that says enough. And adding this line of, or including the line of equitable access, I think is in effect redundant and unnecessary. In a similar way, the second comment there about the library's collection will include diverse perspectives. Well, it will if the exhibits follow the collection policies and the other things that are spelled out in that particular paragraph. So I don't see that that's a necessary sentence either. And in the same way on the second page, should not reflect one's opinion or style. Frankly, I thought that was puzzling because, of course, any art is going to reflect someone's opinion or style, and so having that statement in there just didn't make any sense to me. But then to have a diverse art collection, again, I believe is redundant. The sentence would read, the permanent and circulating collection should attempt to reflect a wide variety of cultures, art movements, and styles. And I think that's fine, and I think that's adequate, and I think that we could make this change in a simple way.
I'll second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Scott. Is there any comments? Mark?
Mayor?
I yield the floor to,
Okay, Al.
Just a question. Was there any conversation with Gail regarding this?
Yes, I spoke with Gail when this was first out a month ago. Talked to her
But with
personally.
these changes?
I talked about these changes at that time, yes.
No.
Oh, okay, thank you. I guess as being on the former board of directors with the Center for the Arts, art is very broad-ranged. I feel people should have the opportunity to have their art displayed. Just because somebody doesn't agree with it doesn't mean you have to like it. I would like to see people be able to have, they can have a religious piece of art, they can have a secular piece of art, and it is what it is. That's what our country is. Believe me, I'm very sensitive to certain things. I don't have to agree with it. But I think you can't limit one without limiting the other. I'm very, because when we start doing that, then nobody has a say. I never thought I'd be that passionate about art. But on my fireplace mantle sits an alabaster carving of a woman nursing a child with no clothes on. And I purchased that from an artist out in Maine, and who was well known. And I look at that, and I gave that to my wife when our second child was born. And it has a lot of meaning to me, and to my wife, and to our children. So just because it's a naked female that's feeding a child, although it's somewhat, what should I say? It's not completely detailed, but people know what it is. And every time I look at that, I think of my kids and my wife. That's my comment. Thank you.
Mike?
I won't be able to follow up as well as Councilmember Krameyer did because I am not an art individual, but I respect Mr. Kwame's position on, he's brought up the topic of DEI, and we've watched where the pendulum in this country has swung one way a long ways, and we watched where the pendulum has swung back. If you ask my opinion today, the pendulum here he's asking for is swung too far. Too far. Use the word equitable. I talk about an equitable business partner all the time. I use that word many times in the billboard business, And if you talk about the word diverse, I use that all the time in my assets that I have. And so they're not always used as DEI in every single way. I think the library has been nothing but gracious in trying to work through this. And I will not be voting for this today. I would like to see the stop and the art policy move forward as it is.
Any additional comments?
I would definitely agree with that. I think that we asked the library to kind of go back, revisit this. I believe what they brought in front of us today is something that we can definitely work with.
I would echo that, Your Honor. I think it's important that we have a board that's looked at this multiple times and staff, and at some point we need to trust our boards, and they're the patrons, and put trust in that too. I respect where others are coming from, but I think it's really important that we don't, in some aspect, not take boards' work seriously that are volunteers to our community and are willing to put this time in at no pay and put hard work and thought into things.
Your Honor, can we vote on this, and then if it fails, we can
Correct.
vote? Okay.
I mean, if we'd obviously have to do a. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. My name is Matthew Lake. I live here in town. I am the board president for our library here in town. And I wanted to see if I could take an opportunity to just kind of shed some light on the conversations that we had as a board that led us to the revisions that were made and the revisions that weren't made. When we put this, finalized this policy as you see it today, and clarify some of the things that we discussed. If we could even just look at, well, I guess now let's move. Do you want to go to the one on the second page, please? Councilmember Kavami pointed out this line and not being quite able, not quite understanding what we intended with this statement that artwork is considered for the library's permanent collection should not reflect one's opinion or style. This is instruction both for staff who are developing the collection as well as an understanding for our community members to know why which art is present. We don't want our staff, we don't want our library director including art in our permanent collection or circulating collection that is just art they like. We want them to be taking a perspective of the entirety of our community, what kind of art they would like to see, and what would benefit them to have access to. So that's the intention of that line, as well as the idea of having a diverse collection. I don't know if the council members have had opportunity to use and peruse the circulating collection at the library. My family and I, we have a spot in our sitting room where we rotate every month a painting out of there that is in that circulating collection. But they're predominantly rural landscapes. We have a very trended collection at the moment that I know I and my family would appreciate having a larger, more diverse collection to choose from with which we get to bring art into our home. I grew up without a lot of art in the home, without a lot of access to art, and so having this has been really fun for me and for my children to be able to have and see. I'm also happy to answer any questions in regards to the verbiage and language that was used and why the council, or excuse me, the board chose what it chose. If council members have any questions.
No, I think we're good. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
So we have a motion, a resolution on the floor to approve this with the amendments of deleting these three lines. So if you agree with approving it with the deletions, obviously it would be, you would say yes, and if you disagree, then it would be no, and then if somebody cares to offer a resolution after that to approve it, we can go that. Make it with that. Roll call.
Kwame,
Yes.
Clayton,
No.
Freemeyer.
No.
Mortensen.
No.
Rachel.
No.
Kildee.
No.
Fish.
No.
Joe.
No.
The resolution fails.
I
Anybody?
will offer the resolution approving the Fergus Falls Public Library's art policy that was delivered to us by their board.
I'll second that.
I think Al can second that.
That works. Al can second.
Seeing as he gave a very impressive speech.
You're easily impressed.
Roll call.
Kwame,
No?
Clayton,
Yes.
Kremeyer.
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. We'd like to just thank, the library director for her patience and the library board for their commitment to getting these policies done. It's the third attempt, but everything good comes in threes. So, thank you. The next item on the consent agenda that was removed is number 11, the resolution initiating PI 5855, the Lincoln Avenue alleyway and parking lot improvement project and accepting Interstate Engineering's professional services proposal. And I think Mark or Mike wanted to address that.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate it. I know there's more parts to this than just the parking lots, but the parking lots are what have me hung up, and I talked about it in the committee of the whole just a little bit. There's 3 parking lots that we're looking at doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to seal coat 2 of them, and we're going to repair 1 of them completely in the middle. And the process of doing this at this time is because there's other work being done in the area, and I understand that totally. The issue that I have with it is I drove through those 3 parking lots, and the far west one, which I would call is kind of behind State Farm Insurance, kind of behind Dick Pickett, that area up in there. Yeah, could it use a little bit of seal coating, but that parking lot was actually smoother and better than Cavour Avenue that I pulled off of. So I pulled off Cavour Avenue roughly into that lot, and I just can't see putting money into that lot at this time. The middle lot behind Olson Furniture, yes, I agree there's some spots in that could use repair right up by where the alley is, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of that area. But the far east lot that's way over on the corner off east of Bank of the West, that is one of the nicest parking lots that I've ever seen. You could make the argument that we want to seal coat, we want to fix these so they stay that way. I'll make the argument that if we were going to put money into something, we should put it into Cavour Avenue. Cavour Avenue running from Cascade over to Union is kind of what I call the downtown bypass. This road has gotten bad. This road, and constituents have been asking me for a long time, when's this road going to be fixed? So there's no way I can go back to the constituents and say, hey, we're going to fix 3 parking lots, make them perfect, but we're going to leave Cavour Avenue until 2029. And someone can correct me, but I had heard 2029 was the anticipated date to fix that. So I want to make a statement that to the citizens of Fergus Falls that the roads are primary number 1 to me. Those parking lots are not number 1 to me, and I can't vote for having those parking lots fixed at this time when the citizens are driving over roads that are substandard. And the other thing about that road that is troubling is that if we have someone from outside the community that comes in from the east, they don't want to go downtown, and they go around that area, it's not a good look for our city on that Cavour Avenue. So I'm not going to be supporting, I don't want to support at this time those parking lots to be done.
Your Honor. One question I guess I have, I raised Cavour specifically when we were talking about that being, I think it was 2029, I think Mr. Mortensen's correct. I don't know that we were going to staff was going to get back to us. I know we've had, our senior engineer, Brian, was going to look at that, and it was possible we might have to do something faster on that one. I don't know that we've heard back on that, and I know there's been staff turnover, but that, I do think Cavour does need to be looked at. I don't know if it needs to be an either or, but I do think Cavour needs to be looked at sooner than 2029.
Should I talk about that a little bit? Staff certainly agrees with you too on that. We do need to talk about that. That capital improvement plan was put together. Remember, we talked about that aggressive plan. And then even at our retreat brought up, we need to get back together on that capital improvement plan and let you as a council prioritize which ones are we going to do, in what years, and how are we going to pay for those. So that's how that'll come up. I know when we talked with Alex about the proposal, I mean, the alley is kind of a given because that's getting tore up by the utility project. We have to get that done. The thought was then to bring back those others as alternates so you could choose if you wanted to do them or not. So, and make those decisions at that time. So that's up for you. I mean, you can say how you want to do that tonight if you don't even want to have Alex look at that, or if you want them to come as alternates. It's fine either way. It doesn't matter to us. We want to just bring you options. But definitely Cavour. I know last year in the tax levy committee, we did talk about, could we do that sooner or not? We're all very aware of it's in tough shape, and it is used a lot. I drive on it just about every day as well. So that's the 2 cents of, we have to have we have to come together on the capital improvement plan and kind of rework that whole document, so.
Yeah, and I just, we did talk about a lot about this in the tax levy, and Cavour was on the top of our list. Of course, Junius was worse than Cavour, and then Cavour we thought was be next, but then Cleveland come into play and South Union comes into play. And so that's why we come up with this capital improvement, the fast track. We need to go back and revisit that, how we're gonna pay for it, if we're gonna use it. But if we don't go that way, this is probably gonna be 29 or 28. I mean, we could move it around anywhere we want, but we have South Union, Cleveland, and Cavour are they were the top 3 we had to really deal with. So, yep, it's a huge thing, but we need to come back and revisit this capital improvement fast track and how we're going to pay for it if we are going to do it or not. So, and I'm agree with Mr. Mortensen. I'm not going to vote for I too drove in, and we'll pull that off and wait till we do Cavour, or maybe we'll do Cavour sooner and do them at the same time. So,
Scott?
I think that Bill's suggestion that this go to interstate with the idea that it comes back with alternates is the way to approach it. We can initiate the plan that we all want the alleys done anyway, and then ask the plan to then include alternates for the various parts that may or may not be included. It's true that Cavour sees a lot of traffic, but it's also true that that center parking lot is used by everybody, and that thing's a disaster. Mm-hmm. And this is the time to do it. It only makes sense to do it while we're working in that area already, and this is the time to do it. And I think that it would be important to get the whole scope of it as presented put in front of us. And then if you want to have the 3 different alternates for the 3 different lots, fine. But, even getting the gravel lot at Pickett's paved is an important thing. I mean, having a gravel lot in the middle of town is just goofy. And having a disastrous lot like the one behind the theater and Olson Furniture, that's things just, it's a bomb scene. So it would be important, I think, to go ahead with this and then ask that when it comes back for approval, that we have the alternates built into that presentation.
Al?
I would actually, agree with Council Member Mortensen and Rachel's. The comment, while we're there, when Cavour is being done, we're there again. So let's revisit it then and see what the money's at. Let's get the alley done, which needs to be done. That lot, I drove through them too. I've been on a lot rougher roads than what that lot is. And I think that lot will hold up again for another at least 4 years without much decline there. I'm no engineer, but that's my guess. Lived in this town long enough to watch the roads slowly go by the wayside, and we need to get Cavour taken care of. I mean, that thing is brutal. You talk about a disaster, that's the disaster. If you can even get into the lot, that's where I'm at with that Cavour. And people drive that. They're not going to do 30 miles an hour through a parking lot. They're going to do 30 miles an hour down Cavour and hit every bump and remember every one of them. Thank you.
Your Honor, if we are not going to move forward, if the will of the council is not to move forward with looking at these options, then can we put some direction out to city staff, engineering, or Interstate, or whomever it is, to look at Cavour encompassing these parking lots so we can have some accurate numbers to look at what needs to be done with Cavour?
I don't think I believe the resolution is and the bid, the contract from Interstate is to look at the alleyway and the parking lots and give alternates on the parking lots.
So
It's
what
not
what we
on
could do is-
Cavour Street.
Right, that's what I just say, we could make the motion, and I will make this motion that, for the parking lot, or for the, excuse me, for the alleyway with the 3 parking lots alternates, so then we know what it's gonna cost us down the road, and even if we don't use it, that's fine. So I think I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jim. So we have a resolution to award the contract to Instinct to bid the parking lot repairs as alternates
And
to
it's
the alleyway.
designing it at this
The
point,
design.
right?
Right.
But not going for bids
Yeah,
yet,
sorry.
right?
Right.
Yep.
It'll come back to the council for.
But they'll give an engineer's estimate, yeah.
Right. So, roll call.
No conversation, sir?
There was. We
Alex, procedurally, you're going to go and do Cavour, or the alley, and you have these alternates, parking lot A, B, and C. What does that cost the city taxpayer for your time for the alternates? And what does it cost that company to come in and do the same thing, which I've already expressed my opinion on oil. I think bituminous is going to fall and continue to fall. I'm looking at your bid. If I cut it down to just the alley, what's it going to cost?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. We could certainly go back and peel that out and figure out what the difference in cost is. I can tell you that in discussing with staff, the reason we were planning to include these parking lots as alternates is to allow the council to make that decision at that time based on, right now we're seeing good bids. And so we thought, well, boy, if we're there already, that work that you're correct, Councilmember Kramer, that parking lot's not gonna fall apart in the next 4 years, but with a nice overlay, we maybe buy at 20. And if the bids are good, it makes sense to award them. If it doesn't, they can go away with really no consequence. But as far as what our costs would be, I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Is that something easy you can do and get back to the next committee of the whole or something?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I commend the staff for looking at the alternatives. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that effort. But we still have high oil, as already expressed. Oil's fallen. Bituminous is going to fall. I think oil price is going to be soft for the next 12, 18, 24 months. We have an opportunity to step on. Orlando said that the consumers are not happy, and that's going to change the whole world. I don't know how to make this change, but I would prefer that we get an
We have a
alternate.
resolution on the floor to basically accept the contract with alternate bidding on parking lots. So,
Just to talk, if you mind. It's not going to be, I mean, I know you're talking about spending the money, but we're going to use those numbers, the tax levy committee will use those numbers when it comes down to it, to be good money spent if we don't do it, so we can, in the fast track planning or whatever, we got somewhat of a number instead of having to wait on that number. So it is money, I do agree with that, but it's going to give a tool for the tax levy when they come around to it, so it's going to be part of that discussion.
Alex, what was the fee again?
it's
174?
74. It's in your packet.
Thank you.
Could you easily divide that by 4 and see that that's rough? Or
No, the alley is a bigger portion of it than the parking lot. That's the challenge, is getting that, because we know there's storm
Yes.
sewer in the alley, there's stormwater concerns behind a couple of the businesses, so the parking lot is gonna be, those 3 parking lots are probably less than half of that.
Yeah, and to address Rachel's position, I understand, but if we could save 50 grand today, that's 50 grand. I don't think that project's going to happen. Thank you.
Laurie?
Lori Mullen, 2840 Lakewood Drive. About 10 years ago, we had several of us that had attended the Land and Leadership course. And from this grew the Forward Fergus Falls initiative. And out of that, there was like 17 what we call destiny drivers. One of those was the beautification of downtown, the revitalization. And we've made half that effort now with, the pavilion and along the river. And I think right now, when we have the opportunity to look at these lots, we should. And not only that, we should get with the Arts Commission and find out if there needs to be concrete pads put down for artwork, wayfinding, planters. I think right now, when we're talking about economic development for this community, the downtown is the face of our community. And right now, we're gonna look like we're done, half-assed, because we haven't done the other parking lots. So I don't think this needs to be an either-or. It's like we have the chance to actually beautify these 3 lots, kind of give our downtown a finished look, have these store owners take pride in their back lots as well. And we're gonna miss that opportunity. So reconsider that. It doesn't have to be an either-or.
Thank you, Laurie. With that, roll call.
Kwame.
Yes.
Clayton.
No.
Greenmeyer.
No.
Mortensen.
No.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is ordinance and resolutions. There is a motion directing the city attorney to amend the sign ordinance to allow pylon signs in B2 and B3 districts subject to a conditional use permit. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. So I think we should be able to just move it forward. If somebody would care to make that motion.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Laurel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. And we have one abstain. Mike abstained. Thank you. The motion is approved. The second item is a resolution amending the 2025 fee schedule to include a permit fee for temporary cannabis events. This was discussed again at the committee of the whole, and the council landed on a $350 per fee for this. So if somebody would care to make the resolution to adopt that.
I'll make the resolution.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Laurie for seconding. Roll call.
I didn't second.
Your Honor?
I didn't second.
Laura,
okay.
sorry.
Okay, I'm like,
Your Honor?
We confuse him.
Yeah.
We're
I have too
interchangeable, I
many
guess.
L's
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
life. So,
Your Honor?
yeah. With that, roll call, sorry.
Mike wants
Oh,
to ask a
Mike.
question.
Your Honor, I have a question for you. I'm just looking at the Minnesota statute. I'm looking for clarification here from our city attorney, Rolf Nicomo, if he can. Minnesota statute 342.39 is the cannabis event organizer licensing. And there's a subdivision 2, number 7, which says proof of local approval for the cannabis event. So when I read that, I'm trying to figure out, does the individual, we talked before, and maybe Clara can add some clarity to this. We talked about they go to the state first, then they come to the city. So they've already gone through the state process of being credentialed and looked at everything. What does that proof of local approval for the cannabis event mean when they need that for the state? Does that just mean that we have an ordinance in place that that's what it is, or do we need to approve them before they go to the state?
I would think that would be part of the application for the event. Whether we could deny it on that basis, but if they pay the application fee, and like any other event, it would, depending upon where it's going to be, if it's going to be in a public park or whatnot.
This is only for private.
Well, that's what our local
Yeah,
ordinance
this is what this
says.
fee is for, is private events on private land, not
Yeah.
public events.
I think, Mr. Mortensen, I think we don't totally know what the process is going to exactly look like. I know that in this first initial round of licensing, there is an add-on to almost every single kind of business license that is also cannabis event organizers. So they have to have that licensure in place in order to come to the city to get a permit to have an event. What the actual back and forth between the state and the city looks like, we don't know that yet.
It sounds like they're looking for some type of action on behalf of the city.
Which is what which is what we'll see with the application process, the licensure. They'll come back to the city and say, okay, do they fit the zoning requirements? The city then weighs in, and then they finalize that license.
Okay, yeah, because it reads, they have to have the city do it first, the way I look at it, which is kind of backwards, so it's confusing.
There is a lot of water to come under the bridge between now and when these things get into implemented, and the state is a constant moving target on a lot of these questions. And so, I mean, that's part of the issues that we're finding here is I have a seminar that I'm registering for attorneys in the cities on cannabis laws for attorneys set for 6 weeks down the road, 8 weeks down the road. But there was a caveat warning that it's quite likely the laws will change between now and then.
Did that answer your question, Mike?
As best we can.
One question.
Right.
I know when we talked about this at the committee of the whole, there was a question of, is there a maximum fee set up by the state? I know we didn't really tie this to, a lot of our fees are tied to out-of-pocket costs. From talking with Lynn, like this process is probably 10 minutes of her day to process one of these. This is a higher fee. Do we have any liability for having a fee that's not tied to things that is higher than, like, for example, our liquor event fee? This is a high fee.
State statute provides that the maximum that we can impose for a fee. And it says basically municipalities can impose up to half of what the state registration fee is and up to half of what in the application fee. So we're within that. Okay. The $350 is within what the state prescribes, and so I mean we're okay in that regard.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Nicomo, do you have the ability to confirm at $750? Is that what the state is charging for that event fee?
Correct.
Okay.
That roll call.
Yes.
What was the resolution to approve the fee?
The resolution.
I agree.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Thank you. The next item on the agenda is presentation of claims in the amount of one.
Repeal.
No,
You got number
first
3.
reading.
Oh,
Number 3.
okay. Sorry, you wanted to do number 3. Number 3 is the first reading of Ordinance 65, 8th Series, repealing Chapter 120 on the THC product sales. Again, this was discussed at Committee of the Whole and is really as much a height.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. It was introduced by Jim Fish. Now we can move on to presentation of claims. We have claims in the amount of $1,256,895.35. If somebody would care to make the resolution to pay the bills. Thank you, Jim. Nothing has been paid for the last 6 weeks while Jim's been on vacation, so thank goodness he's back. Do we have a second for that?
Sure.
Thank you, Scott. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 What was obviously under old business has been pulled and will get discussed on the Committee of the Whole. There is no new
Your Honor,
business.
I'm sorry. Could I add something to the old business in regards to North Point? Or do you want me to carry that on next time?
I would say put it on the Committee of the Whole when we discuss it then.
Thank you.
I mean, we're technically done with North Point, so. Under miscellaneous announcements, obviously 16th of April, 7 o'clock will be a Committee of the Whole on the April the 18th, most city offices and facilities will be closed for observation of Good Friday. If your garbage and recycling is normally picked up on Thursday, please note that it will be collected on Wednesday, and those that have Friday collection will obviously their pickup date will be Thursday. So as per normal, please get your cans out the night before. And a reminder that also city does require that your cans get pulled back in again, as opposed to sitting there for the duration of the week. Then the next item would be April the 21st for a city council meeting. The other thing that, just to say publicly, people have been perhaps getting text about a survey from the city of Fergus Falls. This is not a city of Fergus Falls originated text or survey, so I would delete it and put it into scam. So with that, we are
Your Honor?
adjourning for, go on.
Your Honor, I appreciate it. When we met at the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, you said, hey, if you have things to bring up or add to the next Committee of the Whole, do it today, I think.
Yep.
Is that still
Yep.
still appropriate? One of the things I'd like to see added to the next Committee of the Whole, and I don't know if you want a motion or if you just want to bring it and then discuss it, I'd like to see the city consider an all-employee survey. And what this entails is it's a survey sent out by a third party to employees within the city to gauge their satisfaction with their work, gauge their satisfaction with their process of where it's at. This is something that's very commonly done in the government. It's commonly done to make sure that an organization that's set up government-wise is functioning at the highest capacity it can. I want to make sure that our employees know that they are very much appreciated, and I would like to consider that somewhere along the line for our employees here to be addressed. So next Committee of the Whole, or if you want to make a motion to up or down it today, that's your call, Your Honor.
I think I would say it's a good idea, but I would think, obviously, we have an advert out for a new HR manager, and I would say that's probably one of the first tasks that we should, give that person once they're employed.
We've done this before, have we not? Yeah, I remember, I just wanted, we have done it before in the city, so. I
Good.
mean, I still
Good.
need to do it. I'm not saying we're not. I just say we've done it before,
Yep.
so.
So I think it should be the first task of the new HR manager.
Can we bring it to the Committee of the Whole to vote on it then and see?
Yep,
Okay,
we can.
thanks.
Thank you.
And secondly, in regard to the committee of the whole, I'd like to understand what the rules are. Anthony and I have spoke about this. Does it have to be brought up here? Can it be added here? Does it have to go to the committee of the whole? How do we get it on the next committee of the whole? My frustrations are we're moving a little bit too slow. Some things need some time, but we could rock and roll. Mr. Rachels, if we've already had a survey, why couldn't we just duplicate that? It's pretty basic. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I don't know. I mean, basically, it's bringing it up to. I mean, it's kind of bringing it up, and part of it is how much time. I mean, we have to prioritize what goes on the agenda and what gets done. I mean, obviously, the committee of the whole on Wednesday was, 2 hours long, so. It's not like we're not skirting things, I mean, and we're not taking things off. It's just a priority of, what is the conversation of the day and what needs to be voted on. Obviously, we put a number of those things on the Committee of the Whole, and then we talk about them again this evening, so that elongates that kind of, we talk about them twice sometimes. So maybe we kind of have to try to answer all the questions and, and get it out of the sort of discussion phase. If we can make both meetings more efficient, that we talk less, then we could obviously put more on the agenda. So
I can't talk less.
Yeah.
The same thing with what has to go to the Planning Commission. We talked about garages on lots in R1, and we get pylons. Did that get to the Planning Commission?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
The Planning Commission voted on it.
Great.
So
I'm going to drag this meeting out.
yeah.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for letting us have discussions, that we're able to do this, because that's how we can make some good decisions. So thank you for letting that meeting go 2 hours.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. So, with that, we are adjourned for a closed meeting. I don't think we will be opening back up again to conduct any business afterwards.